everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Jayson.
And we are father
and son.
We are bringing it back finally, folks, with a slightly different format. Jayson, why don't you tell everybody what we're doing in bringing back father and son?
So, instead of doing reviews every week, we're doing list videos. So, like, top 5s, top 10s, sometimes ranked lists. And we're doing that every week for just whatever the heck we come up with.
Jayson loves his list videos.
Yeah.
We've been talking for weeks about bringing the show back. Jayson's been too busy with schoolwork and stuff, and so it was difficult to keep up with the Power Ranger comics, and we want to do some more content on that eventually, probably another list thing. At some point, we'll just read through more of those books, and then we can come up with some list videos having to do with that also. But Jayson was having a hard time keeping up every week with that, and there wasn't a lot of interest on the channel with it, so we decided to go ahead and axe that as regular videos and go back to kind of weirdly more the foundation, more the tradition of the show. We've done a lot of lists on this show.
Yeah, we've done a few.
And Jayson loves his list videos.
Yeah.
So he pitched this to me yesterday, and I said, yeah, sure, let's try that. So we're going to do different lists every week, and sometimes it'll be one he comes up with, sometimes it'll be one I come up with, and you guys feel free to throw out your ideas for them as well. And right now, we didn't tell anybody about this. We thought we'd go ahead and kind of just sleeper drop this and a sleeper live stream this. And we're still doing the Captain Logan Show tonight at 7 o'clock Central. A whole bunch of news about DC and MCU movies, so tune in for that. But right now, we're going to go through each of our 10 favorite video game music soundtracks. This is a thing Jayson's wanted to do forever. So I let him go ahead and pick today's topic. And Jayson, I found this to be kind of a difficult exercise.
Me too. I thought it would be, like, super easy. And then I got, like, halfway through and I was like, I can't think of it anymore.
I'm not happy with my list.
Me neither. I actually just tweaked it, like, 5 minutes ago.
Did you really?
So I tweaked one thing to be a different thing. So.
I know when we're finished with this, I'm going to think of 2 or 3 more that would have been better selections maybe for my list. First of all, and I don't want to reveal too much about my list right away, I could have done this whole thing with just Mario soundtracks.
Yeah. I originally had, like, 4 Mario soundtracks on here, and then I put it down to, like, 2.
What were the rules and caveats that we came up with for this particular list?
Nothing.
Nothing at all. We started off saying let's not do multiple franchise or do the same franchise more than once, and then we started breaking that down, and we were like, well, what exactly does that mean? Like, you can only have one Mario game, or you can only have one mainline Mario game, but then you can also do Mario Kart. What about 2D versus 3D?
Yeah.
And after about 5 seconds of that conversation, we said, yeah, you know what? No. Let's just let it be anything you want it to be. If it's got 6 Mario games on it, that's just fine. I didn't do that either, but I could have. I almost wish the topic was just Mario soundtracks.
Yeah. And I mean, we can do, like, top 10, like, Mario songs or something.
We'll probably do more video game music also, because that's another thing that's real near and dear to both of our hearts.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was harder than I think it should have been. Here's my issue with it. There are a lot of games that I like, I've never played to completion. And a lot of the soundtracks that I listen to are in, like, when I actually listen to the music apart from the game, just because I do listen to quite a bit of video game music, but it's of a couple of franchises I'm realizing, and that's about it. Mm-hmm. And then everything else is like compilation lists, like playlists and compilation releases
where
with
you've heard like one song,
a bunch of single. Yeah, exactly. So there were several things I thought about putting on the list, and I went, "That's for one track."
Star Fox,
Pilot Wings was almost on my list, and I couldn't do it. I'm not a big Mega Man guy, so if I listened to the Mega Man 2 soundtrack more, it probably would have made my list, but I haven't listened to it enough.
I did think about that game, but I only...
There's the couple of songs I know real well.
Yeah. I know the main theme and Metal Man, and the main theme is like my third favorite track.
It's frustrating. Castlevania Bloodlines, I considered. but I've never seen past the like fourth level.
Yeah.
And I haven't just listened to that OST down.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm somewhat embarrassed by my list. Like I feel like some of mine are really obvious. Maybe too many of mine will line up with also my favorite video games list that we also did on this show. So I'm going to make a prediction that your list will be more interesting and more surprising and more eclectic than my list. You don't think so?
Maybe. I think we will have some of the same stuff on our list.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'll also say that at least one or two of mine aren't even, I wouldn't even put in like the best soundtracks of all time. They're just ones that I listen to a lot.
Yeah, the way I basically made this list is just based off of how much I listen to it, like apart from the game. Just like on my own or with you or...
Yeah. How much do you just listen to video game music?
Pretty often, actually. But, again, there's like the 2 or 3 soundtracks that I listen to and like nothing else.
Yeah.
So like I put those on there and then I'm like, well...
And it's like a list of Smooth McGroove music with from a bunch of different things. Yeah. And the same thing with 1-ups and...
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and start running them down, and I'll let you go first, Jason.
Yay.
What is your number 10 today, sir?
My number 10, and this might shock you.
Oh, man.
I
can't wait to be shocked.
Is the AVG Endgame.
Really?
Yeah. I know that's going to be higher on your list, because I know it probably is on your list, but if it is, it's probably higher than number 10.
I am a little bit surprised that it made yours.
But yeah, I just listen to it a lot. Like, not on my own, but like... I just like listening to it, and, you know, you put it on a lot, and, it's just really good, music that sounds like NES or SNES, like, chiptune.
It's chiptune music,
just
yeah.
chiptune music, but, it just sounds really good.
And it doesn't sound like it's from any particular console. It's the kind of chiptune music that is taking... It's got a consistent sound, but would you say that it sounds... like more Super Nintendo or Genesis, or does it have some sounds that couldn't have been done on either of those platforms?
Yeah, I think it does have sounds that couldn't be done on, like, SNES or Genesis, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's modern in its way.
Yeah.
Like, you
That's
couldn't
what I
have...
like about it, is it's modern enough, but it's also very, like, retro.
Yeah.
Chiptune.
What is your favorite track?
My favorite track is,
You probably can't say it because
No,
a lot
I
of those,
can't. I just
a lot of,
forgot.
oh, okay. I was gonna say because a lot of those level names are are somewhat profane. But
Happy Fun Candy Time, probably.
yeah, I like that one too.
Or Blue
Really?
Haunted House. Or, the future level.
The Castlevania one, I think, is the best melody in that game.
I haven't done that, level, and I don't really remember what it is.
I was playing that soundtrack the other day, so if I played it for you right now, you'd be like, oh, that one.
Yeah.
But we thought about playing some songs from the various soundtracks on this show, but we're a little bit concerned that at least one of these might get flagged, so I think we'll just talk about them this time.
Mm-hmm. Because I have a couple that I'm just like, eh.
That's gonna get us hit. But if you've not played the Angry Video Game Nerd games, do yourself a favor. They're really fun. Of course, you know, they're kind of vulgar, but even if you don't care for that show, I think they're just really solid but difficult platformers. And the newer release with both games, where they've totally remastered the whole thing, has several different game modes, so you can play it to whatever difficulty level makes it more fun for you to play. So like if you want something that's just hard as nails, that's there with the kind of original way those games played. But then these days most people play them without the 30 life thing. Because you can play with unlimited lives now, so without that limitation. I guess is what I was trying to say. Yeah. Anyway,
what's your number 10?
My number 10 is Virtua Fighter 2.
Like
because I listen to it all the time.
Number 10?
Number 10, yeah.
Wow.
It's not a great soundtrack, like when you put it up against some of the really great classic soundtracks, and I feel almost embarrassed about putting it there just because it's, like, the loops aren't long enough. And it really is just kind of, standard fighting game fare. But I like a lot of, again, it's earwormy enough. I like a lot of the melodies from that. There's a massive nostalgia thing for me with that game. It was actually kind of hard picking between 1 and 2. But really just for the Sarah stage and the Dural stage, I felt like I had to go with 2. And well, I'm thinking of some others now too. Like I like Lao stage a lot. I like Lion stage a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We played the Virtua Fighter soundtracks, all of them quite a bit when we're playing the Power Rangers board game.
Yeah, we do.
You and me and Freddie. So it's really good background music for that kind of thing. It's just kind of battle music.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it was impossible not to put it here just because I listened to it all the time.
Yeah.
But it's not, I don't know, it's not like a great soundtrack. I feel like if you aren't really into those games, that's why it's a 10. I feel like the AVGN soundtrack, if you play that apart from the game, most people would listen to that and be like, this is really good. What is this? You play Virtua Fighter and it's like, oh, it's video game music.
Yeah, that's true.
But it also has that classic like Sega sound from that period.
Yeah.
It's so Saturn.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also arcade.
Yeah. But it's very Sega.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really like listening to it.
It's on your list
Which
too, I
is
bet.
why that's my
Number 9.
9.
So we flipped ours because my number 9 is the EVGN game.
Oh.
So I guess we can just move
Wow.
on, unless there's more things you want to say about Virtua Fighter.
No, it's just a great. I actually like it. I think better than you actually. I just like listening to it, and it's just fun.
I'll keep doing this to you. What is your favorite track from that?
Okay. Oh, what's your favorite track from it? 'Cause my favorite is Sarah. Probably.
Yeah, it's Sarah, definitely.
And what's your favorite from AVGN?
I mentioned that it's the Castlevania one, yeah. I can't say the actual name.
Yeah.
Unknown Passenger, the Parasite Eve games have great soundtracks, and he also says don't get me started on Silent Hill. So
yeah, that has a great soundtrack.
A lot of my picks, pretty much all of them, are going to be either retro games or in the retro realm.
Yeah.
There are really, of course, like really nice AAA game scores that I haven't spent enough time with.
Yeah.
That just I couldn't really put in the running. Even like the Arkham City games, they have some really nice score. They're really derivative of Zimmer.
Yeah.
A lot of them, but or a lot of the tracks, but like not all of it. But then there's lots of stuff that if I spent more time with, I'd probably find myself putting it there. But I had to pick these based on again what I tend to listen to apart from playing a game. And I'm also just such a retro guy that's when I think of video game music, my head goes to 16-bit and 32-bit really.
And see, my list is a lot more like modern, like it. Like
but I bet a
most
lot
the
of it's
stuff
still in that retro game.
Yeah, but it's still like more modern games.
We're both kind of chiptune guys.
Yeah.
So there's really nice orchestral soundtracks that might as well be from movies, of course.
Yeah.
And again, I just haven't spent enough time with any of those. Okay, so go ahead.
And my number 7.
Yeah.
I mean, my number 8 is
Your number 8?
Mario 3D World.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That has an okay soundtrack.
I get the soundtrack stuck in my head all the time.
Well, I do too. I mean, I go around the house whistling the main overworld theme from that, but
it's just a great soundtrack. And
which
it's
is not in my head
those,
right now.
And it's one of those that I just listen to.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to say about it?
It's just very like orchestral, and it sounds.
It's orchestral?
I mean, yeah.
I mean, the Galaxy games are more orchestral.
It's more. Oh, I mean, like jazzy.
That yeah. It's because that's
Yeah. And my favorite theme is Double Cherry Pass.
See, I don't remember that game well enough to even know where that is.
Yeah, it's in World 4.
I have played that whole game, but it's been a long time.
No, you got stuck.
No, I've been
You got
through
boss and you hated it.
Really?
You never played it ever again.
I don't think he's right about this. I think I finished it at some point, but It's been a while, so what do I know? So you've heard that entire soundtrack.
Yeah, I have.
Have you been to the end of it?
No, I haven't. But I have.
That's the game that ported to Switch had Bowser's Fury with it, right? Have you played through that?
I played a little bit of it, but I didn't play all of it. I think Freddie played all of it.
What's the music like in that?
I don't know. It's
kind of generic.
Yeah, it's kind of generic.
Okay, my number 8 is Nights into Dreams.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite video game of all time, and it has, and some of that is certainly score. Jason and I have talked about this a lot. That score is basically, I mean, it goes to a lot of different places, but overall, it's a ballet.
Yeah.
And it's really epic and timeless, but it also has some really nice rock stuff. It's really 90s in its way, but then, like I said, it's also overall pretty timeless. It has a really good overworld theme that keeps coming back. Da-da-da-na-na-na.
Yeah.
And it's really simple. There's so much you can do with it. And we've talked about this before, but when we did our top games video, but my favorite track from that is Soft Museum.
Yeah.
You know what's bizarre? Or also known as Suburban Museum. What's weird about Nights is there are a couple of different versions of that game with slightly different soundtracks. I don't know if you know this, but if you play the European version, it's different arrangements of all those tracks.
Oh.
And I didn't discover this until I was watching a long play at one point of Nights, and I was like, this is not what this is supposed to sound like. Like all the instrumentation is the same, and the melodies are there, but they start different, some of them, and like a Soft Museum does not start in the same place, and it takes a lot longer to get to the melody that you're familiar with, and same thing with the, I'm rusty, I'm forgetting names of levels right now, but the forest level is like that too. I really like the boss music in that game a lot, and that's a soundtrack that I just listen to all the time.
Yeah. No, it is not on my list, but
I didn't know if it would be.
very close.
Yeah.
To being on my list. But
which makes me excited to see what else is on your list, because that means that there's at least a couple of things there that I don't have. Maybe more than that. What is your favorite track from Nights? Is it Soft Museum or is it something else?
No, it's not. What's the one with the electric guitar? Like the more like.
There's a couple of things with that, because there's an electric guitar track
I think
with
it's a boss.
The cat boss.
It might be, but.
No. And then there's one with, I think the dragon has maybe some electric guitar in it, and Riala might also.
Yeah, I don't
one
know
of
which
one of the classic tracks from that is that big dragon boss that you fight toward the beginning, which the game was sold on real hard.
Yeah.
With all the trailers, but that soundtrack is insane because there's so much music.
Yeah.
And it seems like every time I think I've heard all of it, there's something else that I find somewhere.
Yeah.
And I've played that game a billion times, but there's apparently stuff that never made it into the original game, and then again, the European version has stuff that we didn't get, and yeah, the history of that thing is really interesting. Like, there's so many assets apparently on the disc that just weren't fully utilized ever, like ideas that were abandoned, and there's a whole boss that's missing. I watched an hour-and-a-half video about that once with a guy who's just really super thorough,
and I
talking about that whole thing.
Looked into any of that.
You got to. It's fascinating, yeah. SR Striker, do you think Mephiles the Dark theme is very effective? I don't know what that is. What is that from?
I don't know.
I don't either. Let us know. These lists won't necessarily be for things that I know a ton about sometimes, especially when Jason picks them.
Yeah, sorry.
It's just with our limited knowledge of whatever the topic is.
We're more retro, not modern.
And we'll get outside of video games next time, I bet.
Yeah.
We'll try to have a lot of variety for this. Okay, Jason, what is your number? Where are we at? 7?
Yeah, this might also shock you.
Ooh, boy. 7, I can't wait.
This is probably at least something from the series is on your list.
Why don't you move up a little bit? We just want to make sure that you're able to be heard. Okay, good.
Yeah, a game from this.
Oh, Sonic 06. I've not listened to that soundtrack. And I don't like a lot of the modern Sonic soundtracks, so.
Yeah. And, yeah, my number 7 is Donkey Kong Country.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I figured it would be there somewhere.
Yeah.
I've conditioned you too much with
there's
this. We listen to it all the time.
There's a lot of good covers of it.
Yeah.
And it's just a good soundtrack.
But the original over 2?
I almost put 2 on there, and then I looked back at the soundtrack, and I'm like, I haven't heard half of this.
So I have heard all of that, and like I played through that whole game, and I listened to both of those soundtracks quite a bit. But 2 is kind of all about Sugar Brush Symphony.
Yeah.
That's the track that everybody remembers that gets covered all the time. And there's a lot of other great tracks there too. And of course, you know, they're all done by the same guy, so they're very consistent. Yeah, that's great. But the first game has a lot more tracks that get covered all the time and that people remember, I think. Mm-hmm. Your favorite is the snow level from the first game?
From the second game.
Okay, what's your favorite from the first game, since that's what you picked?
From the first game is...
Is it Minecart Carnage?
It's probably Gameplay Galleon.
Yeah.
But
which is one of my favorite pieces of video game music of all time.
It might also be just either the title or no.
What was that?
Just
the opening, the Rare logo.
No.
I chose this game because of the Rare logo.
No, probably, or also the DK Jungle. Because all the, like, realistic sounds are awesome.
Yeah, well, and that's... are you talking about the theme that plays during, like...
The first level.
Yeah, and then, like, the Barrel Blast level later,
yeah.
and I think of that as kind of the theme of that game, right? Like...
Mm-hmm.
123 Rock fan $1.99 super chat, thanks so much. Donkey Kong Country 64 music, I like it, but some find it bad. I've never listened to that soundtrack.
Me neither. I've never played that game.
I didn't have that growing up. I own it now. I bought it a few years ago for my collection, but I still don't have the expansion pack for the 64, so I've never played the game.
Yeah.
But I remember playing it at, I don't know, somebody's house when I was a kid, or a store or something, and not being very impressed with it graphically, which is why I never bothered with it. And I've watched a couple of videos on it, and it's real collectathon-y, which makes me think I probably won't care for it very much, but I'll try it at some point. But I don't know the music from that game.
Yeah.
Okay, my number... You ready to move on?
Yeah. Your number 7?
And once again, just a shout out to Minecart Carnage. Cuphead!
Wow! Number 7.
That is objectively one of the best video game scores of all time.
It is.
I can't help it. And I have not heard all of the music from that game, and I put it on my list.
There's so much.
It's stupid how much music is there. It is really good big band jazz and swing, and it plays wonderfully without the game. I have played some of that music for... like music people I know who are not into video games, and they're very impressed with it. Like I played some of that for the Jeff, my stepdad, who is a classical composer and a pianist and a organist, but he also he also plays with a jazz band. He plays jazz piano, and he's been big into jazz for years. And I played him a couple tracks from that just sight unseen. He was like, "What is this? It's really good." And I was like, "You won't believe this. It's this video game that's kind of a throwback to classic cartoons." Cuphead is really hard. I'm awful at it. I've never even finished the first map. I need to go back and work on it some more. I'm having a hard time getting good. Running guns are not my thing. Like I'm just not great at that. And the bosses are crazy. Yeah, it feels like that a little bit. But the thing about Cuphead, Super Star Wars is unfair. Cuphead feels like I should be able to do it, and it's just hard, you know what I mean? It's just, like I said earlier, hard as nails.
No, I mean, everyone that I know that's played it is just, like, it's really hard. Like,
yeah.
Like, I know, or I knew some people who have beaten that game before, but...
But I have listened to quite a bit of the music from that game apart from it.
Yeah.
And would you talk for a second about what you did with that at dance?
Yeah. So last year I had a tap solo that I took to competitions.
You took it to Branson, you took it to Florida,
Yeah.
and several competitions here.
And I did it to Cuphead music. I did it to what's that song called?
I don't remember right off either.
It's the really, really hard candy boss. Can't remember.
We'll think of it. Which is funny because you lived with that all year last year.
Yeah, it's been a while. But yeah, I.
It's only 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We're still waking up.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I had a great solo to that song.
And of course, nobody could tell it was video game music.
Yeah. Everyone just liked it. My number 6?
Yeah, might as well. Oh, you know what? Let's go ahead and do the super chat real quick, if you don't mind. Brightburns, 499 super chat. Too bad you're not an RPG guy. Mass Effect has a whole trilogy worth of great music. Maybe when Jayson is 17, he'll like Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. And I have tried to get into that game before, and I just suck at it. I'm just not any good at those kinds of games. So at some point, I will take the time and sit down and try to do that. Or maybe I'll just listen to the music and see if you're right about that. Pardon my phone.
I've also there are some games that I've listened to that just have great music that I've never played.
Well, there's lots of great
Persona
Final Fantasy
5.
stuff. Yeah, Persona 5.
Like I've listened to some music from that, and it has a great soundtrack. I've just never played it.
Doesn't that get real jazzy too?
Yeah, a bit. Not really. It's more like spy-ish.
Oh, okay. I will, but I'll say real quick, I have played, or I've listened to, pardon me, quite a bit of Final Fantasy music, but not enough that I felt like I could put one on my list, where it's kind of, again, more individual tracks. But you're right, I mean, it was difficult to not put some RPG scores here, and I just felt like I didn't know them well enough. One of the big ones I wanted to do was Chrono Trigger, which I've never played, but it has fantastic music. I just don't know it well enough. Yeah. I felt like if I put it here, it would be for, a couple of tracks. It'd be, I guess, is it Chrono Cross more? Is it Chrono Cross that has Scars of Time? That's one of my favorite game tracks of all time. Like, if we did single tracks apart from games, my list would be a lot more eclectic and a lot more diverse. And I wouldn't feel as weird picking things from games I know nothing about.
Yeah.
But we're talking about entire soundtracks.
Yeah.
That's what makes this exercise difficult. Anyway, so where are we? 6?
6. My number 6 is Super Metroid. Great game, great soundtrack. It sounds.
I thought about it too.
It sounds like a movie.
Yeah.
It's very orchestral. Like you hear that opening, and it's just like Metroid 3, and then it like zooms into like a Metroid and like a broken Metroid glass, and it just feels like a movie.
There's a lot of really unnerving stuff in that soundtrack. It's impressive what, of course, they were able to do with that sound chip.
Yeah.
And some of the sounds that they could get out of that you wouldn't think the Super Nintendo could produce. And you forget that you're listening to a 16-bit sound chip.
Yeah. I can't remember what my favorite track is called. It's, I think it's Brinstar, Overgrown, Underground Area, something.
Jayson and I started a play. I think that is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jayson and I started a playthrough for that game a couple years ago, and we've never gone back and finished it. But boy, I was enjoying it. It's hard.
Yeah. But I
got stuck somewhere.
Did you?
I think so. I think I got lost somewhere.
Oh. I've been.
And you got Dread.
This was like, yeah.
You got stuck there too.
Like a year ago, I
said 2 years ago. I think it was a year ago that we were doing that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I started playing Metroid. I'm really into the Metroid games. I've never beaten one Metroid game, but I really like the games. Around a year ago, I started playing Metroid Zero Mission, and I need to get back to that because that's a great game.
Is that the one
That's
on
the remake of one on GBA?
Game Boy Advance? That's what I was going to say, yeah.
And then it's that and Metroid Fusion.
What system was that on?
Game Boy Advance as well.
So it's all about the handhelds.
Yeah.
for you with Metroid. Well, and I didn't include any handhelds with this because I didn't grow up with any handhelds at all, and only got a DS when I was in college.
Wow, me neither. I thought I
And
would, but
there are some really good handheld soundtracks that I just, again, don't know well enough
yeah.
to put on a list. Robert Wild, I also love the Arkham scores. Origins is the most underrated. The music on that one is so good. I haven't listened to those closely enough. But yeah, I couldn't even tell you what Origin sounds like apart from the others. But there's some really nice stuff in Arkham City that I like a lot. Unknown Passenger, another great atmospheric soundtrack is SMT3 Nocturne, also connected to the Persona series. What's SMT?
SMT, I can't remember.
Help us out with the acronyms, guys. I don't know what that what game that is, but I'm sure you'll say it and I'll be like, oh yes, of course. SS Jerry, the Metal Gear Solid series definitely needs a mention, but Jason's probably not old enough to play them, and I've never played those myself.
I want to, but I'm not sure like how old I should be to play them.
And I don't think I've ever listened to the music with those.
Yeah, me neither.
But yeah, well, eventually, someday. Okay, so my number 6 is the original Super Mario Kart soundtrack.
Yeah, I thought about that.
That didn't make your list? Wow.
I did not have a Mario Kart game on my list.
Dun 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 dun.
It was between Super Mario Kart 64, and Mario Kart 8, and I just didn't know.
Yeah,
Mario Kart 8 has a great theme.
Well, Mario Kart 8 goes back to the original Super Mario Kart theme.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just
a lot more like
it's just fuller and done with I think that one's done with real instruments maybe. But yeah, it's dun 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 dun, dun like it's the same theme.
I didn't even think of that.
But it takes a while to get to it. So there's other melodies in it, but yeah. No, Super Mario Kart is in my mind kind of a perfect soundtrack. I like every track in that, and they go really well together, and they're almost all really earwormy and melodic, with the exception of the Ghost House, which is fair, because it's a ghost house. Because the melody of that is basically...
Yeah.
And then that's it. And that's one that I listen to all the time, and there's a cover album from the one-ups that Jason and I have listened to since before you could remember, probably. Like, I probably pulled that up and started listening to that when you were like 2 or 3 years old.
No, I don't remember that yet.
When you were 2 or 3 years old? Sure.
I remember when I was like 4 or 5, and I always took a nap at 2 o'clock, and then I woke up at 3 o'clock. And I would always play, I was allowed to have my tablet, but I could only play, I always played like this clock game, and then I would listen to like the album.
Yeah, but you didn't have a tablet when you were 2 or 3.
Well, that's true.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
My favorite track from that album and game is probably Koopa Beach.
Yeah.
Especially after what the one-ups did with it. Mm-hmm. That kind of put it over the top for me. But I love the Bowser Castle theme. I love Rainbow Road, of course. I love the Balloon Battle theme.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's wonderful. I never get sick of it.
That's my favorite track from that is the battle theme.
Balloon Battle, yeah, it's great. Okay, let's hear your number 5.
Number 5, Cuphead.
I figured you'd have it a little higher than me.
Yeah, I already said all I needed to say about that. It's great.
It also has really good map themes.
It does.
One of the things that's neat about that game too is it's the music in it is also throwback to around the period of the cartoons that it's that's kind of honoring, but it doesn't sound like those cartoons. Like it's kind of blending a couple of genres. So it's going more to like the kind of jazz that would be on the radio at that time, and then putting it in the cartoons.
And pay the price.
And I think it works a lot better than if it was chiptune or if it was just cartoon music.
Yeah.
Because obviously none of that is stuff you could do on an old console. So it feels throwbacky, like a lot of like it feels like a retro game, but it's not really a retro game, right? Like it is side scrolling, but it's not a game that you even I don't think you even could have accomplished that on the Saturn. You know, like that is a modern game. Like it would take today's technology.
Yeah.
To make that look and I was gonna say and sound like it does. I mean, you could do crystal clear CD stuff even back then, but your soundtrack wouldn't have been as big as that was. I don't think.
Yeah.
Cause good lord. Okay, what is your number 4?
What is your number 5?
Oh, because you said Cuphead. Pardon me. My number 5 is Sonic 1.
What?
What, you thought it'd be higher?
No, I didn't even think you'd have Sonic 1 on here.
Well, I can't help it. It's for a couple of things. It's obviously, Green Hill is a major classic, and sure, I'm sick of that just like everybody else, but I can't deny the perfection that is Green Hill Zone. And then Marble Zone is my favorite video game track of all time. I can't stop humming. What is that? Starlight Zone.
Yeah.
Like I can't get it out of my head. I love it so much. I like the boss music a lot in Sonic 1, and I think it actually might be my favorite boss music, or maybe it's a tie. It was difficult to pick one of those out of the original 4. And I will say, I'm maybe giving too much away when I say this. I did also kind of cheat on this a little bit, and you'll see what I mean when we continue on. But yeah, like Sonic 1 has a lot to do.
Mania on it.
Sonic 1 has a lot to do with my love for chiptune music and video game music in general. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't help myself. What did you think I'd put? Because you knew I wasn't skipping the Sonic series.
No. I thought you would put Sonic 2 instead of Sonic 1.
I thought about it.
Yeah.
But again, I kind of cheated.
I thought about Sonic Mania, but yeah.
I think Sonic 1, there are more tracks that I love, and Sonic 2 is because like Spring Yard Zone. Like I think Sonic 2 is a lot more about Chemical Plant for me. Before anything else, and like all the tracks in that are really good, but
yeah.
And then of course when you get into 3 and Knuckles, there's more kind of not great tracks to dud tracks, but also some of my favorite tracks are there also. But as a cohesive soundtrack, and again, covers kind of mess with me with this too. Super Guitar Brothers with the medley that they did for Sonic 1, that starts to kind of put it over the top because it just sounds so good altogether.
Yeah.
And I think it has my favorite credits music at the end when it goes back through all that.
My favorite credits music is on my number 1. So.
Well, the folks in the comments just want to talk about Metal Gear Solid music, and I think they're frustrated that we're not talking about that, but we don't know those soundtracks. Okay, Jason, what is your number? Where are we at? 4?
4, yeah. My number 4.
Because I almost skipped 5.
My number 4 is Geometry Dash.
I know, I knew that would be in there. Now, is that cheating? Because the Geometry Dash soundtrack is, if I understand it, just a bunch of tracks from, like, random chiptune composers. Or am I wrong about that?
You're right.
Okay.
There are tracks.
So isn't that a little bit like saying my favorite original, like superhero movie soundtrack is Guardians of the Galaxy? Like, you know what I mean? Can you do that? You could with the orchestral stuff, but I'm just talking about like the incidental music.
I didn't hear any of those songs before Geometry Dash, and not a lot of people did.
Okay.
Like if you go to the.
But you're talking about compilation at this point.
Yeah, but and there are also a little bit of a couple of songs that were made for the game, like Geometrical Dominator, Power Trip, but yeah, like it's I just can't not put it on the list, even though I might be cheating. It's one of the game soundtracks.
It's too informative.
I just listen to it. Like, it's like the most, it's like the soundtrack that I most listen to. My favorite track is Blast Processing by Waterflame.
Which you've played for me several times. It's
Yep.
great.
Wow. 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 Also, no. That one's fine. Electroman Adventures, which I've played for you as well.
Yeah, that one I don't remember by name, but...
Waterflame as well. I found out Waterflame from, this game, and he's like...
See, this is why it's cheating, because you're basically saying your number 4 is a band.
No!
Okay.
But, yeah.
Oh, and also, just describe Geometry Dash for anybody that hasn't played that.
It's a, what's it called?
Endless Runner?
Endless Runner, where you're a cube, and you jump over spikes and stuff. And
So you can't stop or anything. It's not a platformer. It's an endless runner.
It will be a platformer in like a year.
And see, I'll play that.
Yeah.
I'm excited to try that out. I'm not big into the endless runner thing.
Yeah.
I think it's a good way to work on rhythm, though.
Yeah, and you haven't played it with a computer, so.
I tried. I played it with a mouse.
Oh, I didn't know if you had or not.
Yeah, you had me sit down and do it that way once. But yeah, I don't like touchscreen controls with anything. But yeah, this is this generation
it came
playing
out,
video games more on phones and tablets than anything else.
Yeah, it's still not great, like, even for me.
Okay.
But yeah, it came out in 2013, and 7 levels, and with the soundtracks, I'm not counting any of the, like, tracks from, like, user-created levels or anything. Like, just the tracks for the 21 levels.
I need to go back and listen more to the soundtrack of what is that 2D side scroller that was really popular, Jayson?
Dynamite Heady?
No. the modern 2D platformer that came back and went back to 16-bit. That's like why can't I think of it? Shovel Knight. I need to go back to the Shovel Knight soundtrack because I remember that being really good, but I don't remember it right now, so it's not on my list. But yeah. Robert Wild says somehow Kappa's gonna work Batman '89 into this list. I bet. No, there's not any Batman here. I did consider the Return of the Joker soundtrack, which I like a lot, but again, it's mostly for 2 tracks.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel like I could list it. Like, I've never sat down and just listened to that whole thing down. I thought about some of the Arcade Ninja Turtles games.
Me too.
And I didn't end up including any of those, because again, it tends to be about a couple of tracks.
I almost put the NES original game.
Yeah.
But
dun 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 dun.
I just like it.
And then it goes dun 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 dun.
What's your number 4?
My number 4 is Mario World.
Wow, I thought that would be higher. I thought that would be like your number 2 or something.
I was surprised it wasn't higher also. And these are, by the way, kind of in the moment. Like, maybe next week if I made this list, that would be number 2 or something. But, yeah, it's my top 4, pretty arbitrary. They could kind of go in any place, I think, in any order. But Mario World has... Here's the reason it's not number 1. Well, no, I don't want to say that, because that might give too much away. But... I think it's one of Kondo's best achievements, greatest achievements, of course. It's a brilliant overworld theme. It's insanely versatile. He was able to rework it in a bunch of different modes for different kinds of levels. It works wonderfully well for an underwater theme and for a castle theme, and it's my favorite castle theme of all time.
And it's my favorite title theme of all time.
Yeah. And so I had to go there. I also love the athletic version of that track a lot, and just like Sonic 1, that's a really foundational kind of soundtrack for me, for my sensibilities. You put those together and you have kind of what I feel like is the sound of my childhood until I'm a teenager.
I kind of liked the soundtrack less, because
after what?
After I found out that more than half of the... So you know how most of the soundtrack is like the same theme?
Yeah, it's the overworld
different.
theme. Yep.
Well, I kind of liked it less when I found out that theme was kind of just copied over from a famous kid song in Japan.
Yeah, but you find that with Kondo's work, and you also find that in John Williams' work, and obviously a lot of composers.
Yeah.
It's hard to say how much of that is they stole a song and reworked it, and hope nobody would notice, and how much of it is that was part of their DNA, and subconsciously melodies end up getting reworked when you're doing original things. And also, this is how art works. So you're right. There's a fine line between homage, ripping something off, and also just something being in the zeitgeist or being in your chemical makeup that leads to, oh, hey, I recognize that. That sounds kind of similar to this thing. But, like, you can say the same thing about some of the tracks in the first two Sonic games, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that hurt it for you.
Yeah, it did.
Because you thought that was a wholly original melody.
Yeah, and also, yeah. But the thing is, it's, like, so popular.
Oh.
Like, that song is, like, just, it's, like, all over, TV and stuff.
So you're saying it'd be like if you turn on a Mario game and it sounded like Wheels on the Bus?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
It was originally a 60s song.
I still stand by it being my number
60s.
4, though.
60s rock song, but some guy from Japan came to America in like the 60s and heard it on the radio, and it was like, oh, I'm gonna take this and put it on the TV, and then...
Well, then what's wrong with Kondo doing
then
it?
it became... Well, no, he just kind of covered it, and
Oh,
then
I see.
it became just a normal children's song. So, yeah. But... yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. When I was a kid, that castle theme was so chilling, because especially in the castle at the end of the second map was really hard for me when I first played it. Mm-hmm. Not now, I know it really well. But that music just made it more kind of haunting and harder to get through. Mm-hmm. Made it more intense.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3.
My number 3 is Sonic 2.
Sonic 2.
Sonic 2.
Why Sonic 2 over Sonic 1?
I listen to it more, and I actually
probably do listen to the Sonic 2 soundtrack more.
I
I go back and forth. It's tough.
There's more tracks than in Sonic 1, and it has a better soundtrack.
You think?
Yeah.
My favorite track from Sonic 2 is Chemical Plant.
My favorite track is...
What is yours?
Metropolis.
Yeah.
Because it's very, what's it called? Like,
Industrial?
Yeah! But also, like, techno.
Isn't that the track that goes dun 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 dun? Is that Metropolis Zone, or is that something else?
No.
What track is that? Okay, how does Metropolis go?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I just like it. I forgot. But I've been trying to think of it this entire time. I just couldn't think of it.
Okay, here, we'll play that real quick. We won't get copyright flag for that.
No, we're not. Oh, yeah, I remember now.
Okay, so dun 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 dun.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I knew it. Sorry, folks, that was loud.
It is.
See, I knew it. Anyway, okay, moving right along. Well, what else did you want to say about the Sonic 2 soundtrack, I suppose? Are you good?
Yep. Oh, also it has a good credits thing, but it's not my favorite. I feel like you're gonna be blown away by my number 2.
Well, why don't you oversell it? Why don't you overhype it?
I'm not.
He's like, you're gonna be blown away, and I'm like, now when you read them, I'm like, oh, okay. My number 3?
Yeah.
My number 3 is indeed Sonic Mania. And here's the reason. Because my favorite tracks from Sonic 1 that, again, were really influential for me growing up and have a lot to do with what I like about video game music are not in that game.
Yeah.
But most of the rest of my favorite Sonic 16-bit tracks, retro Sonic tracks, are in Sonic Mania.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I could pick 3 and Knuckles just for uh, Flying Battery, because I love Flying Battery,
Yeah.
but it's on Sonic Mania.
Yeah. But you picking Sonic Mania is like me picking Geometry Dash. So like.
No, it's not. Because it has
has-
a lot of original music in it as well.
It does.
And it also has, and also everything is remixed. And the, Tia Lopes does such a good job in his arrangements that sometimes they're even better than the originals.
Yeah.
He comes up with Act 2 versions of stuff you never thought you'd hear in Act 2 for, which was his favorite thing to do when he was just a fan creating music on YouTube. And he has Act 2 versions for most, if not all, of the Sonic tracks going all the way up. So there's a really good playlist. We should link it somewhere. There's a really good playlist on YouTube of that claims to be Sonic Mania, but it's not all Sonic Mania. A bunch of it is just T. Lopes tracks from that he came up with before he got that job, and he had already arranged a bunch of Sonic tracks. So there's even a Marble Zone Act 2.
Yeah.
And I love that soundtrack. That's a thing that I've listened down over and over again. But of course, one of the most popular retro Sonic tracks now is a T. Lopes original.
Yeah.
From that game.
Studiopolis.
Studiopolis, yeah, exactly. And also that's a big soundtrack. There's so much there. And it has a wonderful main theme. The opening titles is really good. So yeah, I mean, I think he's eclipsed all of the old Sonic soundtracks with that soundtrack.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume it's on yours. Sonic Mania.
It's not.
Is it not?
It's not.
I am fascinated by that.
I almost put it on my list.
That is
but I did
shocking.
not.
I think it's
I have no
nonsense.
idea what your other things are. I have no idea.
That's
because
exciting.
I feel like you said all of the ones that I
That
know
you thought I'd say.
like.
Can I just say real quick, not to disparage your opinions and your choices, but I think it's nonsense that Sonic Mania is not on that list, but Geometry Dash is, which is music that was not created originally for that game.
Yeah, but it's still good music, and it's good video game music, even though it's not. And most of it was made for like, it was. Most of it is chiptune music that just isn't.
I'll say real quick, there is a soundtrack that has come up already that I have not put on my list yet that you should expect to show up. You might just not realize that I haven't said it yet.
Well,
See,
yeah.
so at least one of them you'll know. So what is your number 2, Jason? We're almost there, folks.
My number 2 is Undertale.
So I was this close to putting Undertale on my list, and once again, I just felt like I didn't know it well enough. And I do know actually several tracks from that, but I've never listened to the entire soundtrack. And the reason is because we were playing through it, and I didn't want too much of the sound of that game to be spoiled for me. Some people like to listen to soundtracks before they play a thing or watch a thing. I find it distracting if I know the music before I've heard it in the thing. So I don't tend to do that.
Okay.
But yeah, talk about Undertale.
Undertale
It's
is
genius.
amazing. It's very, it's kind of like the AVGN game, but like, it has a mix of chiptune and a mix of like more modern.
Sure.
Like, you have Death by Glamour. Well, no, that's not a good example at all. You have Spider Dance, which is more like chiptune-y, and it has some modern sounds in it, and it gets super like creepy and stuff. But then you have The Ruins. That's just, I think that's the one that's like, and it's just,
When it's dancing all around traditional RPG music
Yeah.
and doing a lot of unconventional stuff, but also dipping into the classic. And there's maybe, there's, I don't know, they're looking at all the classic RPGs with that, with your Final Fantasies and stuff, but also there's maybe some Zelda influence in that soundtrack too. And
but yeah, then you have stuff like Death by Glamour, which is like a mix of those, where it has like,
well, doesn't some of that
normal
soundtrack
music
get kind of
on
techno-y?
top of, not really.
Not really?
but
Okay.
Yeah. And then you have like music that was made into a lot of like memes, and it got super popular, like Megalovania and Bone Churzel. And
Not that you're picking it because it's popular, but it's popular because it's that good.
It's popular because it's that good. And yeah, like everyone knows Megalovania now. Like it's just.
What is the track that I was always humming along to Smooth McGroove with?
Oh, that is.
Because I have a favorite track from that game, but I don't remember what that's called.
I can't remember what that's called.
Okay, I'll look that up real quick.
It's.
Maybe we'll play some of that.
But I know what you're talking about.
That's also a huge soundtrack. Where is it?
It's number like 30.
It's gonna be way down there. Dating Fight.
Oh yeah, that one's great.
I don't see it right off.
Tempe Village.
Spear of Justice. Well, anyway, I don't remember what it's called.
Dance. It's in all caps. It's. Can't remember.
Sorry, guys, just give me a second here.
Oh, it's Asgore.
Which one?
Asgore.
I don't see it. Help me out, I don't see it.
It's the red one, above Tempe Village.
Anyway, talk some more about Undertale.
Undertale is I've listened to it a lot, like on my own and stuff.
Dun 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 dun. Yeah, I love this track a lot. It's wonderful. But yeah, that's my favorite.
Have you ever actually heard this song?
Yeah.
How is it sure if you have?
But I've listened to it more with Smooth McGroove. That's for sure. Yeah, that's so good. Dave Atkins says, "Yo, Jason, hope you're doing well."
I am. Also, yo.
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 Okay, so I am kind of lamenting not putting that soundtrack on my list, and I think if I had taken the time to listen to it down, it probably would have been number 8 or 9.
I did listen to some soundtracks
Did
while
you?
doing it, so yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance. I just threw this together this morning.
Yeah, I did it last night.
Okay, are we to... Oh, was that number 2?
Your number 2?
That was number 2. My number 2 is Mario 64.
Wow. Okay.
There's too many brilliant tracks with that game. I think it actually does kind of eclipse Mario World for me at this point as Kondo's kind of magnum opus.
Yeah.
Some of it is the slide theme that also... he does the same thing with 64 that he does with Mario World to a lesser degree, where he's got one theme that wends its way into a couple of different places. So it's Bomb on Battlefield, but it's also the slide theme, which blew my mind when I first realized it. But I also am...
I hated myself for not thinking about
yeah, I know,
that.
so did I! I didn't learn that until I listened to the Super Mario Kart Brothers music podcast.
Wow. You just told me, and then, or I just found out while listening to it. I was like, oh.
I meant to mention them earlier, by the way, because I had Carl Brueggemann on a live show several years ago, and what was that, 2018, 2019?
Yeah.
From the Mercado Brothers, and he, I played him some music during that show, and part of the reason I felt the need to put Virtua Fighter right at the end of the list is because I know I'm so alone on that, because I played him a track from that, and it didn't do anything for him at all. He was like, that's fine, I don't know, why are we listening to this?
There's a soundtrack that, because you haven't said Donkey Kong Country, and
I have
know
not.
That's your number 1.
Yeah. No way around it.
You didn't put Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
I did not put Zombies Ate My Neighbors on this list because it has 2 or 3 really fun tracks, but there's also a lot of really annoying stuff on that soundtrack, and there's a cover album that came out a couple years ago that we love, that we listen to quite a bit, and I love what they do with it, but that as its own soundtrack, it was never implemented great. Like, it sounds better on the Super Nintendo, pardon me, than it does on Genesis, but it never sounded as good as it might have, and so I think I like the songwriting in that more than I like the implementation.
Yeah.
And that holds it back from being a top 10 contender for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I didn't end up using it. But anyway, Mario 64, a big track for me with that also is just what they did with the Starman theme. When you get the wing cap, da na 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 na.
Yeah.
That was such a like dreamlike, whimsical sort of experience for me the first time I played it, and the music has, and a lot of people have that story, of course. And the first time I played it, a lot of that music was part of that whole experience, and it's almost all really good.
Yeah. Another game that I thought of putting on my list that I didn't.
Oh man, the snow theme also goes to that overworld music.
Yeah, it does.
I didn't even realize that until just that
first one
that came in my head. Da na 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 na.
Yeah.
Dun, and then you go into the slide in that level and you hear it again.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Okay, we're past an hour already, so we should probably get to our number ones.
Yeah.
Mine is Donkey Kong Country. Enough said. Can't help it. And it's hard not to say 1 and 2 together, which would be cheating, but if I have to pick one over the other, it is 1 for all the reasons that we discussed earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But also, we didn't mention Aquatic Ambiance, and how do you not?
Yeah.
That's brilliant, and that's probably...
Is that
That
one?
would be... That's 1. And
I thought that was 2.
No, that's all the water levels in 1. Ba-na-na, ba-na-na-na-na-na-na.
I thought that... Oh, wait, no, 2 is the... Yeah.
Ba-na-na. And then that would probably be tied for me with Gangplank Galleon as my favorite tracks in that game. Mm-hmm. But anyway, what's your number 1? It's going to be Mario 64, right? I knew it!
It's just so good, and
Super catchy.
It's really nostalgic for me, and I have just it's like that one soundtrack that I just have listened to for like 6 years.
Yeah, which is more than half your life.
Yeah.
Well, that's half your life.
It is.
And you listen to it a lot apart from the game.
Yeah.
Is there a really good cover album of just the music from that game? Because I've not found that yet. Somebody should do that.
Not that I have found. A game that another game that I almost put on my list that I did not end up doing for reasons is Minecraft.
Yeah.
Minecraft has a great soundtrack.
Okay.
It's it would probably be like number 11 or 12.
Why didn't you include it?
I just had so many other games that were like I thought better, and
yeah.
It's just.
But you said initially that you had a hard time coming up with 10.
Yeah, and then I came up with a lot more than 10.
Started coming back to you.
Yeah.
NES Silver Surfer could have made my list.
I thought of that.
Did you
too,
really?
But I only know like one track from that, so.
I'll play you more of it. It's all good.
Yeah.
That guy's brilliant.
Yeah, and it's great.
Oh, and Daniverse, thanks for mentioning David Wise. That's the composer for the Donkey Kong Country series.
Yeah. But yeah, Minecraft is a beautiful soundtrack, and some of it is very like quiet, and then it gets louder as it goes, and it sometimes gets too loud, but it's great.
Well, folks, that's going to do it for us today. We have knocked out our top 10 favorite video game music soundtracks, complete soundtracks, and eventually we'll come back and do single tracks, which I think will be kind of a more fun list, and we'll probably actually play some of those. Mm-hmm. But anyway, we haven't decided what we're doing next week yet, so we won't announce that. We'll kind of talk amongst ourselves and figure out what that list is going to be. But yeah, we're going to do, at least for the time being, see how this goes. List videos and top 10s and top 5s and ranked lists. And if there is one that you'd like to see us try to cover, let us know.
I just keep thinking of music lists. Like
yeah,
I want to do
same
top
here.
10 James Bond songs.
Oh, that's a good. Yeah, let's do 5.
5.
with that, because I don't know that there's 10 that I
Let's do
like
5.
that much.
Yeah.
We have a playlist of those that we've listened to, and so Jason hasn't seen even very many Bond movies, but he knows all
I've
the
seen,
themes.
Yeah.
I don't know how interesting that list is, though, because I already know what both of our number one would be. Like, there's almost an objectively best
Yeah.
Bond song, or at least I think we agree, don't we?
Yeah.
Do we not? Is there one you'd put above that? Oh, no, you know what? There's a contender, isn't there? It could be between two.
I would think it for me, it's either the garbage.
Are you just gonna say it?
Or
I thought you were gonna say, yeah, I was gonna say Garbage is almost objectively the best Bond theme.
Or Live or Let Die.
See, that's what I was about to say. Is like, but can you put it over the Beatles? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's or I guess that's McCartney by himself. Did he do that with Wings, or did he just write that himself, or I mean, did he just
don't know.
make that himself? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
But yeah, so it'd be Garbage is what movie? World Is Not Enough.
Yeah.
Which is a terrible movie, but a wonderful
I kept
theme.
thinking in my head, don't stop till you get enough, and I'm...
The world is not enough, just because of the word enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks again for watching, folks, and for listening, and we'll see you again next week on an afternoon, probably a Tuesday again, for another one. I was Captain Logan.
I was Jason.
And we were Father.
And we were Son.
Later, folks.